Don't mind the dickheads in the chat. Yeah. I don't. We are going to talk a little bit more about the Taliban openly stating that they were never going to share their power. This was, I believe, shot back in January, that once again shows that they had absolutely no interest whatsoever in ever sharing power with the Afghan government. And I'm fairly certain that the American government also knew that that was the case, but here is further proof. And then we'll get to some good news in a second. I'm not dehydrated. I don't seem kind of tired. It's because my back is fucked up again. And I fucked it up again. I tweaked it. And now it's fucked up again. We'll get to some good news in a second. But another thing that we will get to, of course, is the top of the hour ad break real quick here. Okay. I'm going to run a 1 minute ad here. If you no longer want to see the ads, if you want to ad-free broadcasting experience, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5, or you can do it for free with a Twitch Prime if you have an Amazon Prime account. Or you can use an ad block or a VPN. Here's the 1 minute ad break now, and here's the video.
Sharia courts. Disputes here are settled. There's little due process in these Sharia courts. Disputes here are settled by mobile justice, and in some cases, Taliban commanders who have the autonomy to carry out punishments how they see fit.
Everybody shut the fuck up about yoga. I literally do yoga and shit. Shut the fuck up, please. I'll be back.
He just smacked him. What you're seeing right now is pretty much a Taliban court. You have in front of me is a local Taliban commander talking to somebody who's been accused of stealing. Surrounded by a group of Taliban fighters, the accused is forced to give a deposition to camera about whether he stole sheep from a local herder, as well as other crimes. He's been sitting in Taliban jail since his arrest and has no representation at this hearing.
بدون د نور څومره غلې کړی ته نه مې لیکلي کتر باندې ثابته شو کتر باندې ثابته شو لاس مې باندې وکړ خو ته خو د باندې مونږ کاروي اړیزه چا د باندې وکړه د وری چک تندرای څلور ورځې باندې هم په باندې خونه کې خو کې د ورای پلاس ورک ورای پلاس ورک راز د چای په شو کې دی وری آخی خورمه خو پاینده که خود بیا سوال نخوری نه دست جاکو بیا نه من دست اشتباه بیا نه صحیح شو کنه
In terms of the cases that you've dealt with today, what are the potential punishments that they could be served in the end?
اوس داسې د غټ غلو د پوره مثلا د لاس وڅول شته کې کنه د غټ غلو د پوره او د غوځو کوم چې د
Sharia baby
اوس په جرم کې دای راشي چې شای چې په شریعت کې تشته چې په قرآن کې د غلط مو په تطبیق کیو
The man that was sat in front of you that was accused of stealing.
Yeah, that dude does look like Murad a little bit.
Potentially, at the end of the court case, he might have his hand cut off.
غلطه د خپل اصول او طرز العمل شته نو ان شاء الله خود شته ورنه
Human rights organizations would look at this scene and see men who don't have representatives, who don't have anybody putting forward their case, who have people who don't necessarily have the judicial or legal experience to be able to be handing out punishments, deciding the fate of an individual. And they would say that that isn't justice. What would you say to them?
نو دا سوال د همکانه دی د موږ هر زده کړه د موږ هر عمل د موږ هر کردار د موافق او مطابق د قرآن او د شریعت دی اضافه نور هیڅ شی نشته کې
So is this the justice system that you would like to see implemented in Kabul and across Afghanistan?
نو دا خو عملی دی په دوی کې شک نشته هغه
Like, how do you fucking... So here's a couple different things. When I see stuff like this, I'm like, how the fuck do you get this motherfucker to realize, like, you're out of your mind, okay? You're out of your fucking mind, dude. You are so lost in the goddamn sauce, dude. Like how? You know what I mean? Education is one thing, but they're literally going to prevent it.
سو هیڅ د امارات کنټرول لاندې دي اسلامي امارات کنټرول لاندې په هغو کې په قطعا دغه د قرآن او د شریعت غږ دی او همدغه عملي کول نور هیڅ شی نشته کې
Would you consider bringing back stoning if you were to be in government? Is that something that you would do for adultery?
دغه زنا د لپاره بالکل جزا شته اک سنگسار و که کوم جزا چې په شریعت کې ورته مطابق دغه حال سبا قتل کیږي دغه د سن سبا قتل کیږي دغه د بخش دی کې ټول کې ذکر دي کوم شای چې په قرآن او په شریعت کې ورته کوم جزا و هغه جزا مطابق د جزا سره د غشته دی.
Hind joins me now from Turkey. Hind, you spent some time with the Taliban. What was that like, and what did you learn about what Afghanistan might be underneath them?
Yeah, it was quite surreal. We spent around 5 days and 2 nights with the Taliban, and what was really clear was just how powerful they were, and that despite what was coming out of Kabul or Washington, the Taliban had absolutely no intention to take part in intra-Afghan talks, which would lead to them integrating into what was the current political system in Kabul. In terms of their strength, they have a whole new generation of fighters. Some of them weren't even born when the war began.
By the way, for the record, when you get fucking mad at these dipshits, like, talking like this, okay, when you get mad at these fucking assholes talking like this, remember that, like, they learned this shit somewhere. Where did they learn this? Who funded those schools? Okay? Who hyped up, who put their fucking finger on the goddamn scale and decided that, like, this kind of education is not bad, actually. It's a really good way to motivate motherfuckers to go out and die. You know, makes really good warriors. Because someone did that. That someone is the British and American Imperial Forces. Okay? It's the truth. By way of Saudi Arabia. I love that you said Saudi and China. Yeah, dude. China loves Wahhabist fundamentalists, dude. Lol, yeah, the U.S. trained them in Sharia. What do you mean? That's literally what this is. I wanted to show you guys Bitter Lake, the famous Adam Curtis documentary, but there's like too much fucking TOS. You sure it's not the religion kappa? Okay, guys. There are Afghan people who are fucking progressive and also Muslim. What the fuck are you talking about? This is a very specific kind of fucking interpretation of Islam that is completely bastardized. How am I having these arguments with like Sam Harris heads from like 2014, 2015 still? What these dudes believe is completely fucking insane. If there's timestamps for Bitter Lake, I would fucking rip it, dude. I would show all of it. It'd be sick. Yeah, there were literally communists in the 70s in Afghanistan, dude. You're worse than Alex Jones, law? Sure, buddy, law. Sure, buddy, law. Sure, buddy, law. I'm Alex Jones. I'm worse than Alex Jones for saying that, like, Wahhabist fundamentalism is a product of imperialist forces, both Britain and also the United States, like literally fucking putting their thumb on the scale and aggressively funding these movements as a literal direct fucking counterweight towards like revolutionary communist Muslim organizations and militants, because they were terrified of the USSR influence, and also partially because they thought that this would be the best way to maintain stability. Ironically, in a exact identical capacity to how they gave the entirety of Afghanistan to the Taliban literally this week. Bitter Lake with timestamps? Wait, you don't have the timestamps though. I mean, they did that. They literally did that. They did that this past week. Is it that fucking crazy to think? Is it really that fucking crazy to think that that America would be responsible for a gigantic chunk of the extremist activity as a direct consequence of like funding these extremist positions because they think that this is like the best way to offer stability? They did that. How do you fucking, you know? Oh, timestamps are in the description of the blood. No, timestamps of like bloody areas, dude. There's a lot of fucking there's a lot of blood and stuff in this documentary. Did you mean the Taliban adopted the US British imperialistic ruling structure, not their core beliefs like Sharia law? No, dude. I'm saying that there are, just like with everything else, just like with every kind of fucking religious belief, it's not a monolith. People aren't like automatically fundamentalist by birth. The Islamic world is gigantic. Okay? There are plenty of different belief structures within Islam. America decided to put the fucking finger on their scales and prop up some of the worst fucking most fundamentalist ideologies because they saw it as an adequate counterweight to more progressive Muslim groups that were forming, because those progressive Muslim groups were forming alongside socialist ideology or socialism. That's how it works. It's like looking at, I don't know, fucking psychopathic Scientologists and thinking that everyone in America is like that. Or looking at the Westboro Baptist Church or like 3%ers and being like everyone in America is like that. It's like looking at fucking white supremacy. It's like looking at like the Klan, okay? Which is also a Christian organization at the same time, and being like, well, everyone in America is like KKK. That's how it works, right? When that's not the case. America's a great example of this. White evangelical Protestants are a minority in this country, but they're a very active and very vocal minority. So the Republican Party feels the need to cape to all of their interests and all of their demands, right? And ultimately that even works out in a way where like their demands and their desires are expressed in our form of governance. That does not mean that like they make up 100% of the country. Tommy, bro, are you funded by the CIA? No, I'm funded by your mom, who I fuck every night. Okay? Yes, dude, the CIA loves funding people who are routinely talking about all of their fucking operations in a negative light. They love funding people like that. If that's the case, why doesn't just funding a counterpoint work just as well? Well, because who's going to do that? Why would America be motivated to fund a socialist, revolutionary, more progressive fucking organization against the Taliban when the Taliban itself is offering them the stability that they need. They don't give a fuck about whether women can go to school or not. I don't think anyone is saying everyone in Afghanistan is like that. They're saying Islam is a bad influence on the overall situation, but it's not Islam, dumbass. That's the point I'm trying to make. You have to get out of this like monolithic way of thinking about Islam in general. It's very difficult for you to do so. I get it, but it's like the r/atheist attitudes towards like Christianity. Like Christianity was used to justify racism and slavery. It's like, yeah, exactly. But also liberation theology was at the forefront of abolition. So religion is like a tool, okay? It's a tool to control. It can be for good and it can be for bad. In a lot of overwhelming instances, it's used for bad. So you hyper-focus on that. But ultimately, not every Christian is a fucking QAnon psychopath in America, right? Yeah, but tools for control are bad? No, they're not. No, they're a necessity. It's a constant. Okay? I'm sorry. That's some fucking utopian anarchist ideal right there.
And they were all armed,
Idealism
and they also
right
showed us
there.
how to make their weapon of choice, which was IEDs. And in terms of the older fighters, they had an incredible knowledge of the region and the terrain. And regardless of what capabilities you had as an army, the United States and their allies, or even the Afghan government, would find it, and they did find it, impossible to battle against something like that. In terms of the future and what that holds for Afghanistan, we also spoke and spent some time with the Afghan government around 7 months ago, and we spoke to the National Security Advisor, Hamdullah Mohib. In a conversation when we were speaking about potential intra-Afghan talks and where they were going, because at that point they were failing quite significantly, he told me that he still believed that they could convince the Taliban to take part in a democratic system or in their current political system.
We think that democracy is the best way or the best system because in that the Taliban can exist.
Do you really believe that the Taliban would ever support a democracy? Do you honestly believe that?
He did not know.
I think we can convince them.
And it was clear even back then that that was a complete fantasy, because every time we would speak to the Taliban, every time we'd have a conversation, we'd put to them what the government had said to us. And we would ask them, do you have any intention in partaking in these intra-Afghan talks and integrating into the political system? And their answer would be repeatedly no.
Why would they? They knew that if they fucking sat it out, and waited it out until America offered them the country, and they did.
Their intention has always been to rule Afghanistan and for Afghanistan to adhere to their very specific interpretation of Islamic law.
Well, thank you, Hind, for your reporting, and we'll talk again, I'm sure. That's Hind Hassan, who's in Turkey.
Hey, boys. Now for some good news. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has tested positive for COVID-19, according to a statement from his office. Now, all I'm going to say is, for the first time, a person who is responsible for so much COVID got it, not for the first time, but is one of those few instances where a person who's responsible for COVID, spreading through his own state, has, gotten COVID himself. Now, of course, he's vaccinated. He's vaccinated. He's not pushing for mechanisms for other Texan hogs to also have that same kind of benefit, but he himself is vaccinated. So he's not going to fucking die. So there's that. Another stand-in room only event in Collin County. Thank y'all for the enthusiastic reception. keep this energy up and send a message that Texas values are not up for grabs in 2022. He's also getting Regeneron's antibody cocktail, which his constituents don't have access to. Oh, nice, dude. Nice. Collin County is new money, upper middle class, white bread, suburban. I wonder if those I wonder if the homies at Collin County were you know, vaccinated or not. Maybe he fucking super spread it to some of the dudes there. Collin County, Plano, especially, is like the epitome of white, wealthy Republican suburb as someone who was born there. You always shift the blame until you hit the eternal boogeyman, the imperialist. Then you stop digging deeper because it fits your narrow, simple worldview. You're an ordinary, dishonest ideologue manipulating young people on Twitch. I think if you don't recognize that I also dig way deeper than the boogeymen and talk about the fucking material reasons for why such things occur on this planet, then you have completely misunderstood what my point of view is as someone who believes in dialectical materialist, or at least historical materialism and dialectical materialism, and someone who does their very best to describe literally all of these conflicts from the point of view of precisely that. It's way beyond just like the boogeyman of imperialists. I don't think people do things because they're just bad and motivated by evil. I regularly mention that. Oh, this person is looking for, oh, hell yeah. TOS almost halfway through for Bitter Lake. Let's go, dude. The Bitter Lake YouTube video ID that should be without violence. Wait, what? There is like a pre-cut Bitter Lake? The issue is when I describe to you like the reasons as to why these things happen, like, you know, minerals that are ripe for extraction and things like that, you turn around and you act like that's not a reality. Yeah, you turn around and say I'm a conspiracy theorist for why I say like the United States or imperialist powers have all to gain from, you know, continuing the oppression of people in Taliban. Here's what Greg Abbott was up to before he tested positive. Oh my God. So many old people called them hogs. Two thoughts and a prayer? Yeah, no. I did cut the sound, yes. Can't tell if nursing home or Republican meeting. I mean, it's the double. We should tell these hogs they can't go to the hospital. You don't trust medicine. You don't get to have it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've talked about this so many fucking times, dude. Like 98% of doctors have gotten the fucking vaccine. If you're still a part of if you're still desperately trying to find the 2% of doctors who do not to justify your fucking idiotic point of view, I don't know what to tell you. More people died of lockdown than COVID? Dude, where the fuck? What kind of fucking psycho? What? That's literally not true, you fucking idiot. That's not true at all. Yeah, 1 million people died of lockdowns and only 600,000 died of COVID.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I watched Restrepo last night because of what's going on in Afghanistan. Do you know Restrepo, Sebastian Junger's film on Afghanistan?
This is a really great fucking... It's a great doc.
Yeah.
Just sort of... just put it in perspective, like what's going on over there now. And it's...
You've got great takes from what I've seen. People told me you were an extremist, Law. Who is people?